To have you here. Hi, can you hear me? Hi. Okay, maybe you should try to turn on your mic. Maybe your mic is off. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I
Yeah,
don't know if anybody else
yes. Thank
can.
you. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Oh, I'm really excited. Okay.
You look so pretty.
Thank you. Fidel, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. If you want to turn on your video, that's fine as well. But if you don't want to, that's also fine. As long as we have a conversation.
Would you call
That's your son. So welcome everyone. We're waiting for one more person. She will join us shortly. So, but we can start the conversation and then she will join us where she joins us so that I don't keep you waiting. I like to reward those who join meetings early so that we don't wait for the other people who may, join in a bit late and then they will have us waiting for them. So, but anyway, thank you very much. We're doing this for my podcast. My podcast is the Nigerian Girls podcast, and I have some episodes. I've recorded some episodes, so I could send it to you guys after this to listen to some of them. Some are very funny, but a podcast is you just talk about any and everything. So he is Fidel, just so that you know who she is. We grew up together. I've known her since she was a baby. She has known me, like we know each other's families. We grew up in Boko, one of the very popular and very wonderful family. We grew up together in Boko. Her father worked in BCC back in the days. Then this is Fidel. She is a deaconess in Christ Embassy. I've known her for several years now too. She's an amazing person as well. Me and her always have conversations about,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So
Nice.
I just
Should
thought
I say nice to meet you?
that I just thought that, let's have this conversation and talk about gender wars. March is the month of celebrating women, right? So the International Women's Day is in 2 days on the 8th. And so we're talking everything gender. So I am thinking that we can just sort of tilt this conversation to use the Natasha case as a case study, with what we are going to talk about. Right now there is a war. It is a war in the Senate. I mean, this woman she says that someone sexually harassed her, and the next thing that we get is that she gets a suspension. Like, where is that done? And then the person who was accused is the one who presides over her suspension. That even legally alone, that doesn't even hold water and all of that. But, there are all of that. So we grow up always having gender wars with our brothers, our sisters, everywhere we go, in every conversation, when you're talking to a male, it always seems like it is a gender war. Oh, Adam came before Eve. Eve came after Adam. Eve was made to be a helpmeet to Adam. Eve is inferior to Adam. So we always have that conversation of gender wars and all of that. So my first question would be that does this just ever end? Does this ever end? You can answer.
Okay, so I don't think it's something that would end anytime soon. I don't think it's a conversation that would end anytime soon because it has been ingrained into us, like most people. If you go to a typical Nigerian home, you see where there are sons and daughters, you see mothers telling the girl, you need to look after your brother.
Mm.
You know he's your brother. You have to cook for him. You have to clean up after him, and things like that. So to me, that's where it started, and it has been from generations to generation where boys are favored over girls.
Mhm.
It now gives them this mindset that they are kind of better than girls. Even I'm in the education sector, and I see such things happen where they'll tell you, where a teacher is telling a girl child that she has to, she has to wait for the boys to have their pick of toys and things like that. And I'm
Hmm.
like, this is not correct. You're
Mm-mm.
not, it's wrong.
Hmm.
It's very, there's no, like, we're all classmates here. Everyone is in the same class, So don't bring your African mindset. Some people will say it's unchristian, but I don't think, well, for me, I don't think it's ideal to tell a girl that she's in a way inferior to a
Mm-hmm.
boy. They'll tell you that the Bible says you should submit to a man, but that scripture says that, first of all, we always ignore the fact that in that same portion of scripture, it says submitting to one another. And then it says you should submit to your own husband. So there was one time I was in a hospital, and I was having like an altercation with a man, and he goes, um, I know something like, I don't respect him. I'm
Your
supposed to respect him
husband.
because he's a man. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't owe you respect. And you don't even know, like, you don't know my husband.
Hmm.
Like, no, please don't bring that to me. So it's something that would not end anytime soon, especially not in Nigeria. Maybe if the Western world is ready to change the narrative, we're still struggling here, and it will take a long time.
Oh, that's very, very true. That's very true. And that statement is always a put off for me. One thing personally, one of some of the gender wars that I experienced that I find very I find myself, I'm very proud of myself for doing what I do, is that, you're walking across a man or you're walking past a man and then he's expecting you to greet him. And I'm like, I just act like he doesn't exist. Oh God, forgive me. Maybe,
Exactly.
like he's wait. No, I am not joking. He's literally waiting for me to greet him. I'm like,
Yes, because that's how in his head he's something.
so I just walk past him, and then most times I see the shock on their faces. They are like, and so a lot of people around me have labeled me rude because where is it written that I have to greet you first? So if you greet me first, are you going to die? So, these are some of the gender wars. And just this evening, I had a conversation with my husband. Fido, I'm going to bring you in soon. I had a conversation with my husband, and we're talking about cooking. So I teach my son to cook because I keep telling him that I want him to grow up and not be a burden to his wife. I want him to be able to, when he comes back home, he doesn't have to do the things that our brothers and our fathers did. You wait for 2 hours for food to be cooked. And most times, men are not patient. So they have to walk out of the house, then come back when the food is. I said, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I don't want that. So, and then he was saying that no, men that know how to cook have marital issues. And I'm like, I don't understand. How? So he was arguing that men that know how to cook always, and that when they marry a woman that cannot cook well, then it becomes an issue. I said, no, no, no. If you like your food in a particular way, you can teach your wife this particular thing,
Yes.
this soup, this is how I want you to do it. This particular one, this is how I like my jollof rice. This is so, but to outrightly say that men that cook are an issue is not a problem. So I just ended the conversation by saying, me, I will continue to teach my son to cook, and I want him to grow up learning how to cook so he's not a burden to his wife. So, Fidel, let me
I
bring
mean,
you into the
life
conversation.
too.
Yes, please tell us your own story
All
of
right.
gender wars.
All right. So good evening. Good evening,
Evening.
Ehi. Good evening,
Evening.
Ruth.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for bringing me into this conversation. This is my very first, something to do with podcasting, and I just watch people do it, but I have just within a few hours before this meeting, I have learnt a few things. And then when you guys were discussing, I got to hear basically what really happens in our society. Really,
Yes.
we are faced with these issues, but
Mm,
I like he said, it's not about to end. Yeah, because it's already been engraved
mm,
into our system.
yeah.
It's something that is now part of our DNA.
Mm,
So now, when you can't quote the scripture for me that I should submit to a man. That's no, it is my husband I submit to, not
mm,
to every man.
yeah.
I submit to my husband.
Mm,
But the African home training for all of us growing up as children, like for me in my house, we were trained You don't talk when your seniors are talking. So for me, when you say something about a man standing to wait for me to greet you, are you waiting for me to greet you because you are a man, or because if you're older than me, fine, I'll greet you. Why? It doesn't take anything from me. And pass. It doesn't take anything from me.
Yeah.
But the issues the issue we were facing, in this part of the world, like in Natasha's case, those kind of things have never stopped. It's looking like a university lecturer and his students, in school. And I had one experience then when I was in University of Jos. I had this lecturer who was taking us cost accounting. And for some reason, my 200 level, I had issues with mathematics in secondary school. So when I went to Federal Poly Bauchi for a year. So while I was in Federal Poly in Bauchi, I would say my brain opened, because that school, the day you're resuming school, you are reading already. The day you're resuming school. So it helped me. So by the time I got to University of Jos and I was studying business management, every calculation course was like bread for me. So I will find myself in the night, I'm with my classmates who are teaching. I'm teaching them the courses that maybe they didn't know how to do, especially when you have to do with calculations. So this particular lecturer, for some reason, didn't do anything. It was so obvious in class that I didn't do anything to this man. But if he just sees me, he will just say, if maybe everybody's laughing, but my own will just pain him. If you imagine a class where we have over 200 students, why is my own different? Do you understand? So my classmates are like saying, you need to go and see this man in his office. And I told them, I will not go there. I will not go to his office. Nothing is taking me to that office. Until I left that school, I didn't know where his office was. But guess what he did to me? I carried over that course till I got to my 400 level. Yeah. I carried over that course till I got to my 400. When I got to my 400 level, okay, the thing that happened was that I had a spillover because my course supervisor happened to be the former DVC, and then nobody could take students away from her. And that year, she was on sabbatical, but they had to give her students to do their projects. So I was one of those students that were just 10 of us that they assigned to her. I cried, but there's nothing I could do because no other lecturer was bold enough. She's a lady. No other lecturer was bold enough to take our projects from us. So that year now gave me an advantage. So now there was a spillover. Then there was this cost accounting that, for heaven's sake, do you know what happened? My course coordinator had to call me and say, do you know what? Just go and thank God, because I'm not the one taking that course. Just pay the money and just go and write anything you want to write. I will give you credit. Just go. Because everybody knew that something was up. Every lecturers knew. Because he walked out of his class. I smiled, get out of my class. I chuckled, or I just did one thing, Fidel, get out of my class. He was like that. And I told myself, I said, you will not see me. You understand? So what we did, I finished everything. So that my other course coordinator, the man actually helped me. And then I finished and I graduated.
Wow. So what you're saying is that what Natasha is going through is something that almost every woman goes through. Like if you find 5 women, at least 3 have gone through.
Yes. So my conclusion is this. I will make sure that I become what you think I cannot be. So that you don't look down on me as a person. Like that lecturer, he never saw me in his office. I didn't know where that office was.
Yeah. So
because of how the thing had gone, the lecturer had to help me. That's my course coordinator had to help me, to finish and then graduate and leave the school. You can imagine. So it's something that is there. It's in their system. It's in their blood. You start about you could teach your son how to cook. Now let me give you a shocker. My husband knows how to cook very well. But let me tell you, he has never cooked.
You never cook.
Because by the time they said that they used to make them cook in the house, blah, 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 this and that. So one day I said, but you have cooked. So I said, hey, do you mean it? Yes. because you marry a wife that knows how to cook very well. You enter the kitchen. So you see, for them, it's a man thing. But I also say, when I'm reading the Bible, I also see some things in the scriptures. If you go back to Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, even to Leviticus, when God was telling them the different things to do. In creation, God created them man and woman, but He didn't make the woman. He just made them superior to us. He makes us special. So I would say is when you take your place as a woman, the truth is that you become very powerful and very dangerous. That is even the reason why I feel that sometimes they have this inferiority complex.
Okay, so let me just say, it's a conversation, right? So when you say take your place as a woman and you become very powerful, are you saying that don't speak your truth? Are you saying that even when, your rights are trampled upon, or you're talking in the context of a married woman? We're talking about the broader, context of a woman in a society.
I really wished that this talk we had a man to say his own part here with us. Or maybe you have another picture where you have a man to say, no, that's not what I mean, no, Ruth. That's not what I mean.
Okay.
What I mean. What I'm talking about is take your place as in now you're looking down on me. If I'm trying to say with my mouth that no, you shouldn't do that, that was rude. It's like you are just talking. You are just talking. No. I don't believe in talking. Just go and do something that gives you the edge. And if you look at the system right now in the world, women have taken over. They're not taking over, they have taken over. They have taken over.
Yeah, so by take over, you mean that, of course, they know, they've come of age, they know who they are, they know their rights, they know what.
Argue with you too much. Yes. You see, this is that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, like the man that was trying to victimize me. So in his mind, so I want to fail her. So I let her come out with a tech class. Sorry, I came out with a 2-1. What would you do? Even with your wahala.
Yeah.
Do you get?
Yeah.
With your wahala, I came out with a 2-1. So I can hit my chest anywhere and go. After the day I met him in the bank, he couldn't even look at me straight.
Of course, that is what happens. This is the Natasha case where the different Natasha cases that we're talking about now.
If I were Natasha,
yes,
she's smarter. That is the truth. God made women. We are too much. That's the truth. There are things that God put inside of us. God took His time. He created us specially. If I was Natasha, after maybe saying it so that people will say I said it, maybe because her husband is maybe also pushing her, she's a talker. But after talking, go and do your work.
Yeah.
Do your assignment in such a way that you become the next what they call it now? I want to say head of parliament. The next Senate president.
Yeah.
Call the next Senate president.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, when you are not president, you go and bring out all his files and find out what he was doing when he was Senate president. And then let's see who's begging who.
Yeah. But this is just the beginning. Yeah. So from everything that is happening, this is just the beginning. The war is on because she definitely is going to go to court. She's definitely going to court. She's not going to take this lying down and all of that. So this is a case of someone being victimized, one, based on the minority of her gender in the Senate. Then two, the fact that she's a woman, you heard a lot of the senators come out and say that, no, as a woman, I told her to go and apologize. Something wrong was done to this woman. For example, somebody stole your money. They say you should go and apologize to the person that stole your money. That's what Victor Omen from Anambra State was saying. The same thing.
So
please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Nigerian factor. Have you watched this movie, King of Boys?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yes, I have.
You haven't seen that Nigerian movie? No, you need to go and see that Nigerian movie. In fact, it has a part 1, part 2. I think the latest one now is the Return of the King. It's Shola Sobowale that was the king. So she made men and made them. I saw a clips of where she was talking to RMD. RMD was a pastor in the church, and then she wanted to use the church to talk to the brethren in the church so that they can vote for her. She was not negotiating with him. She was telling to him, that's the woman that has power. And and it's not the one that you, even though we know how those on the other one how they behave, but even you, it's just like Donald Trump. Donald Trump, after all the blah blah blah, all the rubbish and everything, he's standing tall. Why? There's just some basic things that if you put in place, no matter how, the Bible says, see a man diligent in his work. It said he will stand before kings and not before men.
Okay, so everything you're
If
saying, Fidel, it brings me
yeah,
to the question. So you can respond to this. So the question, yeah, of course, and personally, I would say that there are always
yeah,
double standards for men and women. Like, are they double standards? Have you experienced double
yeah.
standards for men and women in situations? For me, of course, they are double standards. The case of Natasha, if Natasha was a man, she would not be treated like this. You know, if she was a man that was being harassed by a woman sexually, she will not get this kind of treatment in the Senate, because
No,
one of those
no.
former State House of Assembly members who came from Cross River on Arise today, who was saying, I don't know who saw that video, where he said that women, going forward, before they hold political positions, very derogatory things he was saying, they should go a mental evaluation, mental
What does it mean by
evaluation
that? It is
before, like, I am like, I don't understand. Like,
You know
okay, I
that
hope all is well.
in
But
like that
yes, have you
particular
experienced double standards, in how men are treated differently from women, like on issues that should get like similar judgment?
first of all, I believe that we as women should become like Fidel was saying. We should become people that cannot be ignored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you work in a company, you're making profit for the company,
Mm-hmm.
you're hitting all your goals, you're
yeah,
doing above and beyond the call of duty, and then your boss is a man who, or your colleague is a man who is not doing as much. If you talk, they will listen. I've never really known
that's the
about this
truth.
particular Senator Natasha before this issue came up, but I think that two things are working against her. One, she's a woman. Two, she's a Nigerian woman.
Mm.
In Nigeria, you don't speak against the powers that be. Nobody wants to speak against the power that be. One, either they're not courageous enough for fear of being attacked, or two, they've eaten, so they can't speak against the people that are feeding them.
Yeah.
So many people in that particular Senate might know that, okay, this Senate president was wrong, or they might even suspect that he actually, because now this is an allegation, the Senate president is innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So they might believe that he did it, or they might be for, even if he didn't do it, let there be an investigation. But they don't want to say it because, for goodness sake, this is the third highest citizen in Nigeria.
Yeah.
This is essentially their boss. And then this is one senator that might not even affect their numbers, their bank numbers in any way. So definitely the odds are stacked against her. But now she has an advantage because the people, Nigerian youth, are very powerful, seem to be supporting her. So I think she should get justice. She should push for justice as far as she can, and then she should use this attention to better her jurisdiction where she represents. So back to me. I don't think I'm very have I don't remember ever experiencing inequality, because I don't know whether it's the way I was raised. I
Yeah,
don't back down,
absolutely. I
especially.
can say for the way you were raised, because your parents raised, both children, both genders, because I know this firsthand, that, two of you were just equal, like you and your brother, treated you
Yeah,
people equally, didn't treat anybody above the other person. So,
exactly.
yeah,
There
your
was balance,
upbringing,
pure
yes,
balance.
there
So
was a lot of balance.
I don't go, first of all, I'm a woman, that's my gender. I don't go about like, that's not the first thing at the top of my head. I don't go into a room going, I'm a
Exactly.
woman.
Exactly. Because I was
Yes.
about
So
saying something. Sorry, I was about saying something that sometimes these issues is not just about men, trying to lord it over women that, oh, I'm the man. No, sometimes even we the women too are the ones that put ourselves in that position.
What do you mean?
yes,
So
playing the girl card.
Yes, you are playing the grab card every time. You don't do that. You are okay, you're in an organization where you work. Now you have been given a job to do. Be diligent in that work and try to do more than you are paid for. Not the things that it doesn't concern you, but it has to concern the organization. Ahead and do it. Do something extra that puts you ahead. At the end of the day, your immediate boss is a man. He will woman find out that he cannot do without you in the office. And what has that given you? Power. That's what I was saying about Natasha's case. Already she knows that in that Senate house, she's a minority. Very, very minor self.
So wait, Fidel, calm down. Don't be too fast. You know, this is a conversation. She's a minority, so she shouldn't talk when injustice is done against her. Is that what you're saying?
She will not talk. I'm just saying, you are in politics, and there are some cards in politics. See, Ruth, it's not about whether you talk. See, when you talk, it's like you are talking too much because you see this drama that she started back. At the end of the day, I was the one.
Wait, you said she started drama.
I think
I'm not saying that as if I'm not supporting her. I'm just saying that I were the one. I will first get some good people on my side if I open my mouth.
But there are people on her side, but they won't talk because they are men. Because you know, men, there is a men code, there is a boys code that they adhere to. Did you read? Okay, yes. So if you follow the proceedings today, when she was to be suspended and the Senate president was reading the prayer, Patience, you're welcome. I'll bring you on very soon. I wanted you to just get a feel of the conversation before I bring you on. So when he was reading the prayers for the suspension, the first one, and all the men gave, their go ahead. Yes, the yes had it. Then the second one, the prayer was that, do you all support that Natasha, before she's recalled, either her suspension is reduced or she has finished serving the suspension, before she's recalled, she must write an apology to the Senate, apologizing to the Senate and Nigerians before she's recalled. You know, the first time the men didn't say anything, the Senate president had to read it again, yet he still had more no's. Then he had to read it again, he still had more no's, but he went ahead and hit the gavel and said, yes, the eyes have it. So he's saying that there are people, there are men in that Senate that support her, but they can't talk.
Exactly. I think she should push it. She should not back down. I think she should make sure that it's obvious that even if she doesn't get justice, it's obvious that this is injustice glaring. Even though I think she won't get justice eventually because this is the Senate. Can you imagine? Even a man as powerful as David Mark did not put this kind of stunt that this Senate president is doing.
You know what Nigerian men forget, or what Nigerian powerful men forget, is that women have always, go back in history, have always been the root cause of a lot of powerful men. Bill Clinton is a typical example, so there's so many examples like that from history.
Can I say something briefly?
Yes,
I just think that maybe if you understand what I'm saying, I'm just saying that she can do a power play. It is power play. She can do a power play even as it is now. Because
power play now?
Like he has said, she might never get justice.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do a power play as it is right now, we know that all these people, these Akpabio, them, all these APC people, they all happy that. In fact, right now, Nigerians are not happy with them.
Yeah.
So
Nigerians are supporting Natasha en masse, like massively. The men are like all on her side.
We have people like Obasanjo. We have people like Charlie Boy.
What do we do with this support? What do we do with this support? This support doesn't change our country. This support does not make anything better. I think that we should, all Nigerian youth should let's participate more in politics.
Yeah.
So that will push all this.
Yeah. Okay, so let me bring Patience. I think this is a good place to bring Patience in on the conversation. So Patience, we're talking about gender wars, and so we're using the case of Natasha as a case study, and that's why you hear us talk a lot about Natasha. We've talked a lot about, how, that men and women, it's from time immemorial. Adam came before Eve. Eve came after Adam. They tell you that keep quiet. You are a helpmeet to somebody. A man will meet you in the park and be telling you, is that how you talk to your husband? If I have 5 of you at home, you can't talk to me like that, So those kinds of situations. So, but I also want to talk a bit about toxic masculinity, where you have men, and this is also one major issue for gender wars, these things of saying, oh, I'm a man, don't talk to me like that. Oh, don't you know I'm a man? I'm a man. Is that how you talk to your husband at home? Don't you know I'm a man? In fact, I'm a man. You don't talk to. I entered the bus. I was going to Abuja from Jos, and then this man came. He was drunk. Had been drinking all through the night. So by the time he came in the morning, he was drunk. And then he now, for some reason, unfortunately, looked for this woman's trouble. And this woman was a power. She's a strong woman. If you see the insult this woman gave him, at the end of the day, he couldn't talk. He just started shouting, is that how you talk to your husband? Is that how you talk to your husband? Don't talk to me, stupid, foolish. That's all he could say, but she gave it to him like I was just sitting down there and saying that this one, God organized this woman for you today. It was a very, very funny situation. Patience, please tell us, talk to us about your take on this issue, gender wars. Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry for coming in late.
That's fine. Everyone, this is Threads by Kwete. If you know Threads by Kwete in Jos, she's the one.
I see my neighbor there. My next door neighbor, Fidel, is there.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, good evening.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me. Like these conversations, and let me tell you, a long time ago, I decided that I was not going to be taking Nigerian politics seriously because I wanted to just safeguard my mental health. Because in Nigeria, the more you see, the less you understand. But then I told myself that in 2027, my campaign would not be to vote anybody in because I would rather go out and tell everybody to come out and vote. I believe that if we would get more people to come out and vote for whoever they choose to vote for, it will make it harder for the people who manipulate elections to have a free hand manipulating elections. Because once the numbers far outweigh what you can manipulate, then it's harder for you to manipulate anybody. So my pledge to myself is that I'm going to be very proactive in 2027, just getting grassroots people to come out and vote. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what party you vote for. Just come out. Everybody come out. As many people as can. Now about gender wars, especially with the Natasha issue. Ruth, you know me. You know that I would stand with Natasha. You know that I would play the same cards that she's playing right now if that is the case. Because first, I think that Natasha is a very smart woman. I also know that she's a lawyer, so she would not make allegations without proof. So I'm trusting God that she has proof. So that when everybody's saying she can't get justice, it's easy for us to say she can't get justice if there's no proof. But if she has recorded proof that puts she and Akpabio in the same place and has some of these conversations playing, and it can be ascertained that it's not AI, she will get justice. The truth is that it will take a very long time to get that justice, but she will get justice. I know that we have a very biased system. I know that we play on a field that is not favorable to women. But I also know that there are good men in Nigeria.
Yeah.
As much as want to believe that everybody is corrupt, I believe that there are good men. And the reason why that's always my standpoint is I always tell people, I'm a good person. I'm a good human being. I have a good sense of judgment, and I will always do the right thing. So if I am one Nigeria who does the right thing, it means that there are more Nigerians like me who would always stand on the path of truth.
Yeah.
We would always have gender bias. It will not end now. It will not end in the next 100 years. Because even the Bible was not fair to women. There are many stories in the Bible that shows that men had an upper hand. And the example of the prostitute comes to bear. When cast the stone, everybody wants to stone the prostitute. Oh yeah, who was she sleeping with? Abi, prostitutes, they sleep with themselves? No. So it's always been a man's world. It's embedded in so many cultures. Even the white people that we feel like, oh, they are very lenient, they're very woke, they are very what? They still are doing the same accelerate what with us. Abi, are they not?
Yes,
Even in
accelerate action.
cultures.
Yeah.
Yes, even in their cultures, there's still that gap between, even in politics, there would always be that gap between women and men, because women would sacrifice all of their dreams, all of their aspirations to become a good wife, to become a mom, to be available for her family. A woman would choose sleeping in the hospital with her kids over running an errand for her boss or over going to work. She'd rather be sacked because she slept in the hospital with her kids. But a man would always pick his bag and go for his job.
That is a valid point.
But I always ask where we get this kind of men. I hear some things and I'm like, where do we get this kind of men? Or where do we get this kind of women? Because there are some women that do
queer things. Like they are providers. They are raised to feel like they are providers. So they tell themselves, if I'm not working, I'm failing as a provider.
Yeah.
So it's not from a place of not loving their wives or loving their children enough. It's from a place of duty and obligation.
Yeah.
So and I see it every day. My husband is a good man, but I see him play this card every day. Oh, you take care of the kids, I'm off. So even when the kids are sick, like me, if I'm anywhere and they say my son is sick, I would find my way to my son because I know how bad his illness can be. I know how he would not eat if I don't force him.
Yeah.
And I know that not many people would be able to stand and say, oh, you must eat. Oh, you're throwing up. Oh, you must have fluid. You must take ORS. I would know how to manage my son. But my husband would travel whether my kids are ill or not, because it's a job. I have an appointment. My client has called. I need to go. He would not think that, oh, my kids are sick. So I would always sacrifice my ambition for my family as a woman. And so whether there's an equal playing field for both men and women would always choose family over ambition 90% of the time.
Okay.
So even if there's a common playing ground, we will fail at our responsibilities of being available when the chips are down for our families.
Yeah.
But a man would not do that. So we would always have that number that supersedes that of women, because there are women who would rather just be a full-time housewife over going to work. There are women who, yes, they have this opportunity. They have parents who can hold the door open for them to go into politics, but they rather want to be somebody's wife, and that man probably doesn't want them in the corridors of power.
Okay.
She would rather kill that ambition of being the next president just to be somebody's missus. Okay. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory...
Sorry, not to cut you, but we have been at this conversation and it's scheduled for 40 minutes. So we have 3 minutes to go.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So no, but your conversation is very interesting. Your take is very, very interesting. I don't want it to be boring. So 40 minutes is good time so that even our listeners would not say, oh, this conversation was too long.
I totally agree.
So I'll just go to everyone. Just give me your last, in 30 seconds or 40 seconds, what you think about, and we can do a part 2 if everyone is available, maybe for next weekend, we can do a part 2 and then pick it up from there. So, hey, let me start with you in 30 seconds. Okay, are you there? Okay, so Fidel, please go ahead.
Okay, so Thank you for having me. I would say, let me start by saying that in everything, like Patience mentioned, she said that the Bible is a very patriarchal,
Book.
piece of writing.
Yeah.
And I think